Welcome back to the program. Our next guest has been featured on all the major networks that you watch in many of the world's greatest newspapers with his uncannily accurate predictions of future trends, both in finance and the economy and politics. Gerald Celente has recently weighed in on the killing of Osama bin Laden, including what this death will do with respect to some of the great issues facing America. Gerald, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thanks so much for having me back on, Michael.
The death of Osama bin Laden has touched off a lot of high fives in the United States by people who thought the government had ridded themselves of the public enemy number one. Barack Obama, very upfront, claiming victory and justice in this affair. But I want to ask you, Gerald, after all is said and done, is it true that the world is a safer place now?
Well, it's contradictory. Obama says it is, but Hillary Clinton said we have to redouble our efforts. I guess that means quadruple. Yeah. And so one of them is wrong. And what it's really done, Michael, it's put back into focus fear and high anxiety in America, hysteria. And it's the best way to get the people's minds off the problems. And I'm not saying that as though it's some conspiracy theorist. I'm saying it as a matter of fact. Go back to 4 days before they announced bringing Osama bin Laden to justice. Now justice equals murder, whether or not you like the guy or not. You know, that's getting even now is called justice. So let's go back 4 days before. Ben Bernanke, who I believe is the real public enemy number one, because he's devaluing the dollar and robbing Americans of their hard work and sweat and toil.
He had a press conference
4 days before. As he's speaking, Michael, before the press conference ended, gold prices shot up $20 an ounce. Silver, $2 an ounce. The dollar hit a 3-year low against the basket of currencies. Then you go back 2 days after that. The world was becoming outraged at the U.S., NATO, for bombing Muammar Gaddafi's son's home and killing his son and his 3 children. The tide was turning. You could see it and you could feel it. But all of a sudden, bam, we got Osama bin Laden, and now it's a whole different world. You know that Fukushima that's spewing out radiation?
Everybody forgets it.
And you don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
Why? Because Osama bin Laden is dead. And all that, the unemployment rate went up. It doesn't make any difference. Osama bin Laden is dead. Oh, and just as we're speaking, they're talking now the Greeks might default on their debt. It's okay. Osama bin Laden is dead.
And he got an 11-point jump in his ratings, which were sinking.
Exactly.
Gerald, I want to ask you this. This is a personal question for me, because one of the things that has driven me crazy about the whole Al-Qaeda war on terror from the United States story from the very beginning has been that nobody seems to, back in the Bush days, have ever analysis on why Osama bin Laden came into existence. One would think the policies would have evolved and the approaches would have evolved, but have you seen much debate in all the news fury over this killing that deals with how this man came to exist in the first place?
Not a peep. And all of this talk about, why there are people that don't believe it happened, but regardless of or who did it, regardless of whatever, it happened. And I take the stand that, yes, it was a terrorist strike. So the question becomes, why did they attack America? Well, if you listen to George W. Bush, it was, they hate our freedom and liberty. As we're speaking, they just sent another Predator drone into Pakistan, killed 15 people, some people at a restaurant. Anyway, it's only collateral damage. One hits a wedding. Or about 1 million people massacred in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Oh, and how about Gaddafi? How about revenge?
Mm-hmm.
And no one is speaking about it. All this is we got the bad guy. The bad guy? Oh, wasn't this the same bad guy who was the head of the Mujahideen when the CIA, the United States taxpayer, funded Osama bin Laden to fight the Russians in Afghanistan. So what turned him against us? It couldn't be the foreign policy. Look what's going on all across the Middle East with the overthrow of the dictators and toppling of the monarchs or their next, and the autocrats. It's the people the United States supported. Remember Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, the vice president? Oh, Mubarak's not a dictator. $40 billion and 30 years later.
They praised him for stability. Listen, answer me this if you can. Practically speaking, apart from a boost in the president's approval ratings, what is the death dividend to ordinary Americans of bin Laden's killing?
What's the what?
What's the death dividend? Do they get more success in Afghanistan and Iraq?
No.
Do they get lower unemployment? Do they stop the Europeans from going bankrupt?
Nothing, exactly, nothing. And they just came out with a report that it's cost Americans about $3 trillion to fight this war on terror so far. No, all they're doing, the business of America used to be business. Now the business of America is war.
Very interesting.
The business of China is business. Look at the difference. The country's going bankrupt. Could you imagine they just started another war in Libya? They've totaling up now. It's cost $1 billion, while Detroit is going to dust. Cincinnati's not a safe place. St. Louis looks like it just got hit by a bomb. And it's all over the United States. Hartford, Camden, you name the city, it's going into disrepair. I love this one. Now they're coming out and they're saying Al-Qaeda's going to attack the trains in the United States. Trains? How about wagon trains? Anybody been on one of these things lately? You don't have to attack it. All you have to do is run it, and it'll probably fall off the tracks.
Gerald, I have to ask you this because a big part of your trend prognostications is about economic matters. I don't see how, with the dollar losing so much of its value and steadily becoming even more deflated, how the United States can avoid hyperinflation. Can it avoid a serious bout of hyperinflation forever?
No, they're devaluing the dollar. Everything's going to cost everybody more.
Gerald, it's great to talk to you. I'm sorry we just have one segment. We're going to bring you back on very soon.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you, Michael.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
That's Gerald Celente,